Mommy, big hugs.
A Charlotte mother jailed for ignoring a judge's visitation order, keeping her son from his father for months.
Obviously, I didn't want to go to jail, but I had to pay the price, so I was willing to do that if it meant keeping my son safe from his father.
With the mother jailed, the judge awarded the father temporary custody and banned in-person visits with the mother.
My private investigator is filming Joshua Graham smoking out of a pipe.
Evidence the mother believed proved her allegations.
That's you, right?
Yes.
You were doing drugs in your car, right?
I believe I was either smoking marijuana or CBD.
The father failed a drug test 6 days later, but the judge did not award the mother custody and removed himself from the case after we asked the judge for an interview. Then, days later,
I decided to see if I could get my son tested. The result is positive for marijuana.
A drug test designed to detect drug exposure in children led the new judge to award the mother temporary custody. The father had the child drug tested a week later. With a typical hair test, it showed a clean drug screen. The judge then gave the child back to his father. This custody battle has dragged on for nearly 3 years, with a Charlotte toddler caught in the middle. 2 weeks after the child tested positive for marijuana, a Mecklenburg County judge has now blocked that drug testing evidence. Now, the mother argues this is judicial retaliation after 2 Mecklenburg County judges have now removed themselves from the case. The new judge, they heard the arguments over those conflicting drug tests this week. Here's Chief Investigator Jody Barr with tonight's update in our order of protection investigation.
Jacque Kent carried very little confidence as she walked into the Mecklenburg County Courthouse Thursday.
I expect that, I'm hoping I get my son back, sole custody, physical and legal, but right now at this point with how everything's gone, I don't know.
Kent was there to convince a judge the hair drug test this lab performed on her son was not falsified. Her ex's attorney filed an emergency custody motion last week, telling the judge the child's positive drug test was a false hair follicle test. The father's motion did not explain how.
I would say there's no way I could falsify a drug test or anything else in this case, and that everybody that's here to testify will present the truth.
The drug test Kent ordered for her son is an exposure test known as Child Guard. The United States Drug Testing Lab website claims this test is the only test designed to detect passive exposure to drugs in children, meaning the test can detect whether a child's contacted drug smoke, skin oil of a drug user, physical contact with drugs, or ingested drugs. Typical hair tests cannot test for exposure, according to the Drug Lab website. Kent and her attorney contend the typical hair test is what Joshua Graham ordered for his son. Steve DeSillis, Joshua Graham's attorney, did not explain in the hearing exactly how he believes the test was false. He wouldn't explain it to us either. Mr. DeSillis.
Everything I have to say, I'll say before.
Can you tell us what you were arguing specifically was false about the hair follicle test for Roman Kent?
Everything I have to say, I say in a courtroom. Thank you.
We weren't allowed in today, so we want to give you a chance to address it.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. You have a good day.
The new judge, Paige McThenia, would not allow us to record the Thursday hearing, so we can't show you what happened inside or show you what anyone said. But Kent's side called the head of the drug testing lab to testify. That expert confirmed the test, and the results showing Roman Kent tested positive for marijuana was legitimate. McThenia announced during the hearing she would not allow any of the drug test evidence in. Neither the toddlers nor Joshua Graham's failed drug tests, despite Joshua Graham admitting his own drug test was legitimate during this July 1st hearing.
If we take your word on it, you were smoking marijuana, which is illegal, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you took your urine test, right? And that urine test said that marijuana, right?
Yes.
And then you took a hair follicle, right? And that also said marijuana, right?
Yes.
Sir, yes or no, please?
Yes.
Judge Sean Smith heard this testimony on July 1st.
We're hoping that the court is going to order some ongoing evaluations with respect to his drug use.
Yes, yes, I will do that. I will do that.
But Smith's handwritten order shows he never did, and neither did Judge McThenia.
She just didn't accept it. She didn't admit it into evidence, and that was the biggest piece that we had to prove that Joshua Graham has already tested positive. He's testified to it, that he is an addict and that he continues to smoke marijuana, and she wouldn't admit the drug test, even though he already tested positive for it.
What did you think when the judge says she would not allow any of the drug test evidence?
I knew right then and there, just like I knew 2 times before with the 2 other judges, that she was going to rule unfairly in his favor.
We also offered once again Joshua Graham the chance to have his say in this report. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Mr. Graham, have you ever exposed Roman Kent to marijuana? As before, Joshua Graham remained silent. Something else happened in Thursday's hearing. Judge Sean Smith walked into the courtroom and sat in the audience. Smith filed this order last week, removing himself from the case. Smith sat in the courtroom for 15 minutes before leaving out of Judge McThenia's secured chamber door in the middle of a hearing where McThenia was deciding what to do with orders Smith entered in this same custody case.
I was not aware of that. No, I was not aware, and that should tell the public everything. For him to be in there, there's no reason for him to be in there.
Do you think that his presence in that courtroom could have had some bearing on a colleague of his sitting on the bench and deciding this case?
100%. There is no doubt in my mind, and I think that's exactly why he did it.
You don't trust her to give you the child back.
Judge Smith would not agree to interview with us to answer that allegation. Smith responded in an email that ethics rules ban him from talking about the case. Smith wrote, "I have recused myself and I have no further involvement in this case." I asked Mecklenburg County for the audio recording and the courtroom security video showing Judge Sean Smith sitting in the courtroom. As of this report, Mecklenburg County has not responded to that request. Judge Paige McThenia's decision at this latest hearing means Joshua Graham retains custody of his son and Jacque Kent has no in-person visitation. Again, despite kicking out the drug test evidence, the judge did not order any new drug testing to settle whether the toddler was exposed to illegal drugs. Judge McThenia also did not set a new hearing date where permanent custody could be decided.
And to keep up with Jody's order of protection investigation, just head to QCnews.com, go to the News tab and click on QC News Investigates. There you will find a full breakdown of the investigation.